Hi, Audacious You, Jelena here. I'm going to be talking a little bit about how I found the Improving Conscious Listening Challenge. And so I really loved the TED Talk. It was very well delivered. And um, I really loved how there was so much spiritual undertone to everything. So I'm going to walk through each of the tips that were given and just share a little bit about my experience with each of them. So I thought it was interesting that he started off with silence as the first practice. And basically in, every major religion and many spiritual practices, the importance of starting off your morning with some sort of a routine and just some sort of silence practice, like be it a meditation or a prayer or whatever it is. I thought that was really interesting and really important, and that he shared. And then the mixer routine, where in a noisy place you move from and try to identify different channels of sound. This reminded me of a yoga nidra class, which is basically it translates to sleeping yoga. And in that class, it's a lot of like sensation work. So one of the practices is really just moving through different sounds around you and trying to isolate them and identify them one by one. So that tip sort of reminded me of that as well. And then savoring and enjoying mundane sounds. That was something that I tried to incorporate, like even now as I hear the heater going. It's also a little bit calming to be able to find some sort of silver lining in a sound that might perhaps be just a nuisance generally. But yeah, reframing it is something that was cool about this exercise. And then listening positions was one of the exercises that I think I need to understand a little bit about. So I didn't really have enough of a chance to go through each of those. It was a little bit more complicated for me. But it reminds me a little bit of some of this work from Hal and Sidra Stone, I believe it is. And they talk about having different sort of relationship roles, and we're going to hear and communicate differently according to like which ones we're currently playing, if that makes sense. So that's something I'm going to research a little bit more on. And then the acronym RASA, receive, appreciate, summarize, and ask. So I thought that was really cool in itself. So receive, of course, to take in and absorb the message, and then appreciate with some sort of like supportive noises or words. And then summarize. And I thought it was really interesting that he mentioned the importance of the word so, because I think that is really important. And especially in like presentations, we're told not to say that word so much. But I don't know if that's actually true. So that was really interesting, like linking and summarizing and mirroring through that acronym RASA. Yeah, and then finally asking the question back. So that was something that I was trying to do a little bit more within my conversations this week, because it is definitely something that we're losing as our attention becomes more sought after. Yeah, it's certainly something that I was glad was a little bit more in my awareness this week. And because of that, it definitely made me realize that I haven't been taking the time to really center myself and come into silence. And unfortunately, that affects the way that I consciously listen, because if my mind isn't starting off in a place that's pretty quiet initially, then it's going to continue on even throughout my day and my conversations, and I'm going to lose out on that. So I guess it's just a great opportunity to humble oneself, and just, I like to think of the quote of like, you have one mouth and two ears for a reason, so that you can listen at least twice as much. So yeah, really awesome challenge this week and really enjoyed it. So thank you for that.